Hello everyone, today is 2nd of December. Now it's about 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with report from TASS news agency that during the previous 24 hours, Russian armed forces conducted series of long-range precise strikes on military airfields of Kiev regime, and also decision-making centers that are focused on drone attacks on Russia. Nor precise information how successful these strikes were. Maybe we will learn some more about it during the day. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that German Chancellor Olaf Scholz arrived in Kiev first time in last 2.5 years, and during this trip he announced about delivery of yet another military aid package for Kiev regime, which will worth 650 million euros. So Germany is all in, by the way. Germany's political leadership is all in this proxy war against Russia, and they are trying as much as they can to prolong this conflict as long as they possibly can. Meanwhile, new head of EU diplomacy, Kaja Kallas, extreme Russophobe, xenophobe in general, is once again articulating on the possibility of deployment of European troops into this former Soviet republic, so-called Ukraine. Nowadays, probably you all notice that Western propaganda, Western officials are pushing this narrative that some sort of truce may be achieved between collective West and Russia. Let's be real here. The regime is not really decision maker. All the decisions are made in Washington and London mainly, partially in Brussels maybe. And so this new narrative being created that in relatively short time some sort of truce will be reached between hostile West and the Russian side, and about 100,000 European troops may be deployed on the line of contact as peacekeepers. And Kaja Kallas is talking about such a possibility while saying that Europe may deploy troops if there will be peace agreement or at least truth between the sides. I don't know on what this new narrative is based really. Some Western propaganda outlets are reporting that Trump's administration has some plan to force Moscow to agree on freezing of this conflict. Also, rumors are circulating, and Western propaganda outlets are also writing about it, that Kiev regime may agree that Russia will keep territories that already are under Russian control, and in return, rest of the former Soviet Republic will join NATO. Also, according to some articles, Kiev regime, territory under Kiev regime's control currently, may not necessarily join NATO straight away, but after some 10 or 20 years. I mean, all sorts of nonsensical statements being made in the West and articles being published. And this narrative that somehow Moscow will now agree to freeze the conflict and Europe will deploy its troops to monitor the truth, 100,000 of them, those troops. I mean, this is crazy, by the way. This is no starter. This is not happening. I don't see Moscow even considering freezing of this conflict because everyone understands here in Russia, as far as I'm concerned, that any truth will be used by Western ruling class to rearm, reorganize the Kiev regime, and then use it again in a second round of this proxy war against Russia. So therefore, it does not make no sense for Russian side to agree on anything less than unconditional surrender or capitulation of the Kiev regime and their Western ruling class, because we are winning and they are losing, right? And they are realizing that, they already lost. And that's why more and more actively this crazy narrative being pushed that truth should be achieved and conflict should be freezed, and we will then sort it out sometime in the future. No, man, no. You want to see end of hostilities, unconditional surrender, capitulation. That's all. That's only thing that can be acceptable for Russia, in my personal opinion. And Russian leadership, by the way, was very clear in its statements that freezing of this conflict is absolutely unacceptable for Russian side for very same reasons that I just said. And nothing to be, said about issue of trust. With whom you're gonna conduct negotiations? With the Kiev regime and the Western ruling class that already lied to you in face dozens of times. How can anybody in Russian leadership trust Western ruling class or Western elites? It's just, I don't know, man, it's not happening. You cannot trust those people, man, that are in charge of collective West, ever, right? So this is all BS, by the way. I'm not buying into this story that truth will be achieved, because, as I said, only unconditional surrender or capitulation is acceptable for Russia, in my understanding, and I guess Moscow is on the same page on that. Meanwhile, RT is reporting that White House commented on the topic of transferring nuclear weapons to Kiev regime. I mean, all this topic was, by the way, misunderstood, as far as I understand, by many media outlets and pushed towards very wrong direction. Topic of transformation of the Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime. And I explained this a few times before, but I will share my take in today's update also. But first, let's go through this news. So the US is not considering giving Ukraine nuclear arms. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has stated last month, New York Times report claimed that some officials in Washington wanted to arm Kyiv with atomic weapons. Speaking to ABC News on Sunday, Sullivan said that their idea is not under consideration. And then, quote, what we are doing is surging various conventional capabilities to Ukraine so that they can effectively defend themselves and take the fight to the Russians, not giving them a nuclear capability, he told the network. Less than 2 weeks earlier, New York Times claimed that President Joe Biden could allow Ukraine to have nuclear weapons again, as it did before the fall of Soviet Union, citing anonymous US officials. First of all, I mean, there's quite stuff to unpack here, isn't it? First of all, no one should believe in this false narrative that Ukraine ever had any nuclear weapons, because it did not. Soviet Union did, right? And Soviet Union was deploying its nuclear arsenal in any place Soviet militaries find necessary, including Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. Also in Georgia, by the way, at one point there was nuclear weapons in Georgia, stationed also, mobile systems, in Kazakhstan, everywhere, all around Soviet Union. But that does not mean that Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic was, in charge of those nuclear weapons, or Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic was in charge of those nuclear weapons, or Kazakhstan is Soviet Socialist Republic. No, it was Soviet nuclear weapons, and the only country that is legally acknowledged by world community as a successor of the Soviet Union is Russia. No one is arguing on that, right? So all the nuclear weapons that Soviet Union had belongs to Russia, to no one else, right? So all this narrative that Ukraine had nuclear weapons and give it up for some promises, this is all BS, by the way. This is nonsense. Ukraine never had no nuclear weapons. Those nukes were Russian, and those nukes were transferred to Russia, as they should. That's it. So that's first of all. No one should be fooled or misinformed by these false claims in the West and in the Kiev that they had nuclear weapons and they give it up. No. As far as I understand, the only country that really had nuclear weapons and give it up is South Africa. In South Africa, I cannot tell you about any other country that actually had nuclear weapons and give it up. That's the first point. And secondly, unfortunately, as I already said, many media outlets talk this narrative topic of transformation of Kiev regime into a nuclear armed in a wrong direction, because media outlets start pushing this narrative that US may transfer its nukes to Kiev regime, or UK or France, only nuclear powers in the NATO, which is of course not the case. I don't think anybody in Pentagon or White House were seriously considering to transfer their own nuclear weapons to Kiev regime. Of course not. What is going on is that US, UK, France will help Kiev regime, and already are helping, by the way, based on informations from open sources, already helping Kiev regime to develop atomic bombs inside Ukraine, based on materials, radioactive materials that Kiev regime already has, because and there are quite a volume of it in Kiev controlled territory, because there are number of atomic reactors, right, nuclear reactors that are operating for decades and decades. And one of the byproducts of work of these nuclear reactors in nuclear power stations is plutonium, different isotopes of plutonium. And that's why, unfortunately, Kiev regime has access to quite a volume of plutonium that can be used to build a dirty bomb, so-called dirty bomb, or basic atomic bomb. And I believe US, UK, and France, Western ruling class, basically, will help Kiev regime to build atomic bombs inside Ukraine, mainly with the radioactive materials that the Kiev regime already has. And if it is necessary for Western to transfer to Kiev regime some additional radioactive materials, for example, to detonate atomic bomb, right? To start this chain reaction, some additional material might be needed, and that's what US may transfer to Ukraine. Maybe they already did, because recently I reported, dear friends, that there is a high levels of radiation in Odessa, right? In Odessa port area and the nearby territories. Why? There are several explanations, and one of the explanations is that maybe in that area work is done, or work was done on creation of these dirty bombs by the Kiev regime with active support of NATO specialists. That's clearly a possibility, isn't it? So that's what is going on, and that's why I'm saying, by the way, that the situation is extremely dangerous, because I'm 100% convinced that next phase of escalation that Western ruling class is preparing is exactly transformation, exactly nuclear phase, transformation of the Kiev regime into a nuclear armed regime. And I'm afraid there is at least theoretical possibility that NATO and Kiev regime already built at least several dirty bombs. It is clearly a possibility, and in any case, Russian leadership, including Russian president, were very, very clear in their statements that Moscow will not allow Kiev regime to become nuclear armed and will take whatever means are necessary. And I guess we will observe in near future what Russian president and other high-ranking officials meant under such statements. They definitely have to act because, I mean, only statements that will not stop, right? Western ruling class from this next phase of escalation. And therefore, some action needs to be taken. I don't know what, when, and how, but something has to be done. Otherwise, I'm afraid it's only a matter of time. And somewhere in 2025, if nothing is done, then sometime in 2025, we will see this next phase of escalation when Kyiv regime will make statements that it has nuclear weapons now. Basic atomic bombs that will be similar or somewhat similar to atomic bombs that US dropped on Japanese cities Hiroshima and Nagasaki, maybe with a lower yield. US dropped atomic bombs with 12 to 15 kilotons. That was one nuclear bomb, I believe. And another one had about 20 kiloton yield. And well, Kyiv regime may build with assistance of US, UK, France, atomic bombs, these basic atomic bombs with a low yield, let's say 3, 5, up to 10 kilotons. But in any case, that's an immense destructive force, right? And Moscow cannot allow this to happen. And Moscow just cannot allow Russian citizens, millions, tens of millions of Russian citizens to be threatened with their Ukrainian terrorists, right? That they will drop atomic bombs on us. So therefore, some action is definitely need to be taken. Otherwise, I'm afraid the Kyiv regime will go nuclear with active support of the West, and then who knows, man? Then if Kyiv regime will announce one day that they have atomic bombs, dozens, let's say, atomic bombs, and they will use it if Moscow will not obey orders, then, and they will use it. I have no doubts about it. They will start dropping those nukes left and right, and then we will see probably chain reaction taking place, some even uncontrolled events, and the world, as we know, it may just end, right? So that's what is going on, by the way. No one said that US is going to transfer its nuclear weapons to Kyiv regime. Work is done on nuclear weapons inside the Kyiv-controlled territory. Meanwhile, Kommersant newspaper is reporting that more than 300,000 Russian citizens sign up in 2024, sign up for a military, and have already undergo training, basic training, and I guess some of them already are participating in operations in zone of special military operation, or or are in reserves. But their number itself is quite impressive, isn't it? Not really surprising for any of us in our community, because I was reporting quite often that on daily basis, basically 1,000 or up to 1,500 citizens of Russian Federation are signing up for army, or applying to sign up for army. Not all are managing to pass medical exams. As you know, I was also considering to sign up for army, but unfortunately, I probably have no chances to undergo this, to pass medical exams. I mean, due to some medical condition, but and therefore, I mean, more people are signing up. Applications are much more, but not everyone is passing this medical test. So therefore, we have this number that more than 300,000 actually pass medical tests and already have been trained, receiving training, and probably some of them already are deployed there into zone of special military operation. Significant force, by the way. And this is the case on year-on-year basis, isn't it? Last year was also more than 300,000 people that sign up for army. This year is 300,000. Next year, this number might be even higher. And one should keep in mind that, by the way, Russian militaries are getting paid very good salaries. Very good salaries. 3 to 5 million rubles, from 3.5 to 5 million rubles a year. That's quite good money, by the way, quite good money. And so it is quite understandable that more and more people signing up for army. First of all, because they want to serve their people, serve country, and secondly, I mean, it is also positive stuff that meanwhile they will make good money in process, right? And dear friends, as you know, this small media project of mine is completely subscriber funded. And if you like my channels, if you want to support this project or my work, you can do it with the donation through PayPal platform, or donation through Boosty platform, or you can subscribe to my page on Patreon and also on Boosty. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment, including my crypto wallet address. And there are many thanks to all the members of our community who supported and who continues to support my work. Truly grateful. Without you, this project would not exist, dear friends. So thank you very much. And you are seeing now my page on X, by the way, Twitter X. If you are on this platform, please consider to sign up. It's free, by the way, right? On Twitter, it's free, and who knows, one day my channels on Twitter X, on Telegram, or Patreon and Boosty may become, on Rumble, by the way, may become main source of communication, because we all know how YouTube is operating, right? They can shut down my channel just any day, anytime, without any explanations, because they never care, right? So yes, all the links, as I said, are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Meanwhile, we have this report from Vzglyad newspaper that during the previous 12 to 24 hours, as a result of operations of Russian Air Force and government forces in Syria, terrorists that are on offensive lost more than 300 members. Although, by the way, despite quite heavy losses, this terrorist offensive is still active. Aleppo city, biggest city in Syria, is captured basically almost completely at this point by terrorists, or many other settlements. And today we are receiving news that another city, Tel Rifat, is also captured by terrorists. This is northern Syria. This town, Tel Rifat, earlier was controlled by Kurdish military formations, and these terrorists take action against Kurdish forces also. And according to Anadolu, a media outlet, the terrorists managed to establish full control over this city. Seems like at this point, even though speed of advance of these terrorists, Israeli, US, UK, and Turkish-backed terrorist groups, is slowing down, so they are not advancing as rapidly as in the first days of offensive, but still, unfortunately, Syrian Arab Army is unable to stabilize situation, at least for now. And reports are coming in that Hezbollah now is deploying its units into Syria once again. Iraqi Shiite militias are entering Syria to fight these terrorists. Iraqi army has deployed its formations towards border to strengthen border, although who knows, maybe at one point Iraqi army will also start fighting terrorists. And Iran's foreign ministry made a statement that Iranian instructors, Iran will continue to assist Syrian government, Syrian militaries and air force to conduct operations. No reports yet about deployment of ground forces from Iran to Syria, but this might also happen. I believe there should be some negotiations between Tehran and Baghdad to allow Iranian forces, if necessary, if decision is made, to allow Iranian forces to enter Syria through Iraqi territory. But at least for now, there are no reports about movement of Iranian ground forces towards Syria. Situation is very difficult for sure, and I don't know what is going to happen. By the way, it's anybody's guess at this point. Interfax is reporting that Houthi rebels claim that they targeted their U.S. military warship, yet another military warship. Let's translate this news. So Yemenis Houthi rebels on Sunday claimed that they attacked U.S. destroyer and the free supply vessel in the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Aden. No precise or detailed information how successful this attack was and if any of these vessels were damaged. Anything is possible, and I didn't see in the media also any reaction from Pentagon on this claim. But Houthis clearly are demonstrating that they are forced to be reckoned with. Just recently there was reports that they targeted several destroyers, several U.S. destroyers, and also aircraft carrier. And some channels were reporting that during that attack, some of their drones and missiles actually reached U.S. military warships. Although I don't really believe in such claims without any photo or video evidences, and I didn't see any. Right, so hard to tell how effective these Houthi strikes, attacks on U.S. military assets really are. Civilian newspaper is reporting that police security services dispersed yet another riot. Protesters in Tbilisi, capital of Georgia. It's how many days now? Western-controlled opposition, so-called opposition, Western-financed and controlled non-governmental organizations and their media is trying to destabilize country, to conduct regime change, and these riots, by the way, are getting more and more aggressive. These rioters already are starting to throw Molotov cocktails into policemen. I saw several videos of that. They are beginning to burn down whatever they can burn down in immediate vicinity of Georgia's parliament. They are trying to build barricades every single evening, every single night. And the police is, for now at least, is managing to keep situation more or less under control, and these rioters are dispersed, but they are not stopping. They are very organized. Seems like they have protective gear. They have radio communication, and these Tbilisi riots are more and more looks like what we were seeing in 2014 in Kiev during that so-called Maidan that was also orchestrated by the Western secret services, right? Mainly by the US. And so, as I said, dear friends, yesterday in previous updates, it is highly likely that if Georgia's government will not take decisive actions, and under decisive actions I mean arrests of their Western assets, traitors basically, if these strong actions will not be taken, if it's necessary, impose curfew. Just impose curfew and arrest everybody, right? Because you have to protect country, you have to protect millions of your fellow citizens, right? You cannot allow these criminals, these Western assets to destabilize country and to conduct regime change, because that will be end of Georgia as we knew it. So if government is clearly realizing dangers, then they should act. They should act before it's not too late. And unfortunately, at least for now, I see no strong actions being taken. And this is too bad, man. This is too bad. So that's why I'm saying most likely most likely Western ruling class will succeed with the regime change in Georgia, I'm afraid. I hope I'm reading big picture wrongly, but I don't know, man. Meanwhile, EU threatens Georgia with the sanctions. So the new foreign policy chief of EU, Kaja Kallas, has said that the sanctions are not one of several options being considered by the bloc after Georgia froze accession talks with Brussels and cracked down on subsequent pro-EU protesters. This is not pro-EU protesters. This is Western assets. This is traitors, and they should be treated as traitors. They've been organized, financed, and used by Western secret services, directly or indirectly. And what they are doing is clearly treason. No doubts about that. So law enforcement agencies should act against these criminals as and treat these criminals as traitors. They are committing treason. And also, by the way, Politico is publishing that the EU is considering sanctions against the leadership of Georgia. And they will impose some sanctions. As I said yesterday, by the way, half measures are never enough, right? And current Georgian government is acting with half measures because I guess they don't want to become a target of the Western ruling class, direct target or primary target when it comes to this region. But I mean, if they are not ready to risk it all, if by serving their own people, if they are not ready to risk include even their lives by protecting their own people, then maybe they are in the wrong position. Maybe they should not be in charge of republic, really. I don't know. But strong actions need to be taken before it's not too late, because it seems like these rioters are gaining momentum. They are becoming more and more aggressive, and it's only a matter of time before they will start next phase of escalation, which might be very bloody, as it was in Kiev, by the way, before coup d'etat actually happened. Let's continue. RT is reporting that Joe Biden pardons his son, Hunter Biden. So outgoing US President Joe Biden has gone back on his words and pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, who was convicted earlier this year of breaking federal gun and tax laws. Well, by the way, I mean, you expect something like that from some undeveloped country or banana republic, but now US is acting this way. I mean, US president is acting like as if he's a president of banana republic, man, abusing his powers any way possible. This is, I don't know, man. You cannot comment on this seriously. This is just too bad. And I mean, actions of Biden's administration and US political class in general, by the way, statements, actions, clearly demonstrates a huge level of degeneration of political class in that country, isn't it? I mean, this is nonsense. I don't think any US president would allow himself to act this way in 50s, 60s, 70s. I'm not saying that those presidents were like great human beings or something, but political class in US in general was, I guess, much higher than it is right now, and therefore politicians were acting little more responsibly, or at least trying to act that way. Now they just don't care, man. Look at this. I don't know. This is crazy. The Guardian newspaper is reporting that Brazil, by the way, reacted on Trump's threats against BRICS member states and countries that want to become a BRICS members. And Brazil is reacting strongly on these threats. And I guess every country, by the way, in this organization that and also countries that are partners to BRICS or want to become full members, all of them were received these Trump's threats quite negatively, because what the hell, you're not gonna threaten 80% of this world, right? Because let's be clear, outside of collective West, all majority of countries, if not all of them, wants to have a cooperation with the BRICS, because BRICS is a cornerstone of emerging multipolar world, right? And let's go through Brazil's reaction, dear friends. Let's go through Brazil's reaction. And I expect statements will be made in other countries also. So the Brazilian Foreign Ministry considers Donald Trump's statements about the introduction of 100% duties on goods from the BRICS countries in case of rejection of their dollar senseless and provocative. The Brazilian authorities consider the statement of US President-elect Donald Trump about their possible introduction of 100% trade duties on goods from BRICS countries senseless and provocative. CNN's Brazil reports. Trump said that such measures could be introduced if the BRICS create a new currency or abandon the dollar. Sources in Brazilian Foreign Ministry believe that after taking office, Trump is unlikely to take such a step, and his statements now do not make sense. CNN Brazil recalled that in his first presidential term, Trump also threatened China, Mexico, and Canada with the introduction of similar measures, but in the end did not implement them. Brazilian diplomats are convinced that the future US president, will take into account their current global economic situation. The administration of Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva issued a Trump statement as a assessed Trump's statement as another provocation. So, well, Trump is not even in office yet, and he is managing to sour relationships between Washington and major economies in this world already, which is, I don't think, a right move to do, but it's up to Trump. It's up to US, by the way, US leadership. If they want further escalate with the rest of the world, I mean, what you gonna do about it? But if Trump is serious about protecting dollar, and let's assume he is serious, then stop using US dollar as a weapon. Stop weaponizing your currency. And that will do. But because you are weaponizing your financial and banking system, your currency, and same is done by EU and UK, rest of the world don't really have the option but to look at some alternatives, right? And if there are no alternatives, to build one. So problem is not this world that are looking for safe institutions, financial and banking institutions, and safe currencies. Problem is in collective West, Western ruling class, that weaponizes its own currencies and financial and banking systems. And I don't know. Does Trump don't understand this? You know. Anyways, threat's not gonna work, by the way, because yet again, world have to cooperate, right? One way or another. And while Western financial and banking system, Western currencies are weaponized, then there is not really option. No matter how many threats Washington gonna issue, or Trump or whoever, I mean, world don't really has an option but to build alternatives to the Western currencies and the Western financial and banking system. And BRICS is spearheading this process, obviously. And I hope in fairly short time we will see these big steps being made towards creation of these alternatives. Some steps already being made, right? But definitely more needs to be done in that regard. And finally, dear friends, I'll give you this news that Sberbank, biggest Russian lender, Sber is predicting that Russian central bank may increase interest rates up to 23%, at least 1 or 2 basic points. Currently, interest rate is 21%, and well, few days ago, second biggest bank, experts of second biggest bank, VTB, predicted increase in interest rates. Now Sberbank is predicting the same. So I guess central bank will do exactly that. Interest rates will increase from current 21 to 22 or maybe 23%. Maybe interest rates will be increased on 2 basic points straight away. It will definitely help economy to cool down a little bit and to, keep in check inflation. Although this is, New Year's celebration is coming, so therefore, no matter what central bank gonna do, businesses will try to use this time to make as much money as they can, and they will increase prices anyways on many of the goods, not on all goods and services, but in many cases, prices will of course go up, no matter what central bank gonna do, because that's what business does year-on-year terms. By the way, in January, prices always go up. Sometimes significantly, sometimes not that much, but that's what always happening, right? Okay, this is it for now, dear friends. In any case, I believe inflation will stay under double digits in year-on-year terms. Although, well, prices already are getting, increasing little by little, but prices are going high, which was, expectable. I'm not surprised at all, because since I remember myself, always in Georgia or in Russia or I guess anywhere in this world, businesses are using maximum opportunities to make more money and to increase prices, especially when it's New Year celebration, by the way. So Christmas and New Year celebration. So this is it for now. Hopefully you will find this update informative, interesting, and useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic you find interesting, or just send me good wishes. That will work also. More comments and likes at least sometime are managing to influence algorithm, like it happened earlier this week. Last week, sorry. It's already Monday, isn't it? So yes, this is it for now. If you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in real life or on internet. And finally, if you want to support this project, if you think we deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary, you can support. All the links on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care.